It's 2023, our 8th season mining. We went back up to redeem ourselves on ground that had beaten us 2 years before, and we almost destroyed our beloved D10T. Let's go find out what happened. So we head up in April like we always do, and as always, you never know what you're getting into. And this year was just a lot of glaciers, which were affecting the road conditions. So of course, we're stuck again. I mean, I don't know if this is starting to sound like Groundhog Day, but anyways, stuck, get out, head into camp. This year we had decided to go with younger blood to energize the camp. They had just graduated operating school, and a friend of ours that we knew was running the school, so he suggested them. The first one was Liam. Grew up on a farm, so he knew about farming and equipment and hard work and all that, so he was a given for sure. And Nick, who also out of operating school, really nice guy, energetic, and also a French trained chef. Hello. I felt like I won the lottery with that one, because yeah, he was going to operate equipment and cook our meals, and it was epic. In 2021, when Freddie and Juan came to visit, and we hit that hot spot, and it was up to 3 ounces an hour, and it just died. And we couldn't figure out why. It just kept bugging us, because we don't like unsolved mysteries. We can't let it go. And sometimes that's really not smart thinking on our part, but we are also stubborn. So we decided to attack it. And once we did start stripping it, you're kind of committed at that point. And we sluiced that in the first couple days. We're like, oh, okay, you know, it's not bad. It's 3/4 of an ounce an hour to an ounce an hour there. We had a few days of that, and it's like, okay, once you see the nuggets, the chunky gold, and you have a bit of a hot spot, you don't want to let it go. So we're in there all of May and well, maybe all of June, stripping this, and it's down to the pay, and we start sluicing it, and it was absolute crap. 30 feet down, garbage. So that was our first kick in the you know what. While all this is happening, we also had repairs and maintenance to do. The Traumageddon needed new punch plate. You know, your fuel costs, your wages, everything is all adding up, and there's no gold coming in. Story of a gold miner's life. That fork beat us. We had to admit defeat, and that is something we don't do lightly, but we did. So in this ground that we had leased, there's the main valley, and then there were 2 forks up at the top. One was 13 to the left, that's the one that defeated us. The other one was 18 to the right. And so we were intrigued by those because they hadn't machine mined them up the fork, so that's why we were going after it. So off we go to the other fork. The fork 18 was an entirely different beast, completely different bedrock, lots and lots of muck, black muck. So you're just constantly in mud up to your knees, it was over the tracks in the excavator, just so that the trucks could get in there and haul overburden away. I think we had to put in over 200 loads of tailings from the sluice pile just to have a road that would hold the trucks up. And so we get it down to pay dirt, and we're, you know, down on the lower part of it, and this bank decides to give way one day when Alan's in there in the 10. It came down on him. And there's a lot to be said for that little piece of metal called a ROPS on your D10T, because that might have ended very differently that day, but luckily it just took out a window, covered our 10 in lots of muck, but yeah, we survived another day with that. You're starting to get in a bit of a rush because it's now August, and once again those forks are going to kick us right in the ass. That bedrock turned from the nice chunky you know, rocky bedrock into this blue clay. I think we sluiced for a day and a half, and I went, no, we're done. We're done here. Maybe half an ounce an hour. By that time, we're exhausted. We had struck out on both the forks. And I can say feeling more than a little defeated, because in that time as well, Gold Rush had contacted us and they were looking for potential extra miners to put in their show, maybe to fill in some spots or whatever. So they were looking at us and a couple other people. You know, at the beginning, it was a little bit of a glimmer of hope, because I'm sure you all know they do get equipment, they get paid, they get lots of perks. They interviewed us a couple times, and it was back and forth and back and forth. And in the end, we were not chosen. That was just another, I don't know, it felt like another hammer blow. We were feeling very defeated. We're sitting in Bombay Peggy's in the pub. Alan looks back at me and he says, you know, Allie, maybe it's time we did something else. And my head shoots up and my mouth drops open. And I'm like, pardon? If you know Alan at all, that is not any words that are ever in his vocabulary. Giving up doesn't happen. We woke up the next morning, get up, look at each other, and I said, so you still want to quit? And he goes, no. Do you? No. Okay. Pack up, head back out to the creek, and we are starting from scratch again. We said, okay, we had good luck in the main valley the year before. Let's go down below camp. We start punching test holes. Here we are, another eureka moment. We had a hot test pan. It's September. So 1 month, people, to make our season. There was probably 20, 25 colors in the pan. It's like, okay, let's start digging. Now we're trucking 2 kilometers back up to the trommel to sluice it. And when we started digging around in there, we do not have time to strip down 40 feet. Honestly, we're scratching. We are scratching along the bank. And what do we uncover again? More old timers workings. And these tunnels were perfectly preserved. Like, it was like you take a cross section of a rock, right? You cut a rock and you can see all the layers. Well, we could see the tunnel perfectly. The water had washed in and frozen it. And it was, again, you're looking back in time. And as we scratched along that bank, here are pillars of washed rocks. Just pillars to hold up their tunnels. And they're all perfectly clean, perfectly washed, and stacked up against the walls and their, you know, in their tunnel. We start sluicing that, and we're just digging in there, right? As far as we can get in without collapsing the bank. And the gold's good. It was good. And where they had left pay dirt, like to shore up their tunnels, we just would haul up those kind of truckloads and sluice for an hour, and you'd have 5 ounces in that top mat after an hour. And it's like, oh man, if they had just left us one spot where they hadn't burrowed under and found a pay streak, I'd be retired and on a beach somewhere. But here we are. We sluiced that, and when that was done, what do we uncover again? Another tunnel, more washed rocks. We look in that one with a flashlight, and out pops this perfectly preserved barrel. And that was exciting because it was full of dirt. And I had put that video on social media and said, oh my God, look what we uncovered. Maybe it's full of gold. And people started replying and saying, well, I hope it's not a honey pot. And I'm looking at these comments going, what the hell's a honey pot? And I Googled that and went, oh. I hope it's not a honey pot either. For those of you who don't know what a honey pot is, apparently that's where you go to the bathroom when you have nothing else. But I rinsed it out anyways with gloves. We panned it, and sadly, it was just dirt. So yeah, once again, more interesting finds, more tunnels, more washed rocks, and good gold. And by the time we found that last one, it was October 16th. We had to shut down by 8 at night because the trommel was freezing up and it was spinning out. You don't get to decide when your season is over, the Yukon decides for you. And it decided for us 2 days after we found that next little hot spot. So our assets are frozen until next May, but at least we knew we were going to come back. We had ground to start with that was going to be good, and we knew it was going to be good, and we were going to kick ass in 2024. So join us again next week for my 9th season mining. It's 2024. A lot of epic surprises in a really good way. I'm excited to share that with you. It's also our last recap episode. Yay! So after that, we'll be sharing live updates of our shenanigans this year. Until then, my friends, may your beer be cold and your pans heavy. Cheers!